Hello,
So,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah,
My phone.
okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Keep going. I
All
just
right.
have
So,
my
Sherile and
microphones.
I have been having a conversation behind the scenes for several days, maybe a couple of weeks, about her new app called The Purpose Code, which is astrology based. And she recently ran a challenge called Decode Your Offer, which helped us really tap into like what type of offer are we meant to create, how do we work best with people and all of that. And I like made the comment about how this app has really helped me understand my human design so much better. And full transparency, I'm not a human design expert. I'm a 5-1 reflector. I know enough about myself and just generally how people operate in it, um, to speak the language, but not in depth. And part of that was because, like, the reference manuals I was just showing her that come with how you learn your human design wasn't something that I really wanted to become a master in. I just wanted to know how it works for me and maybe some close clients. So when I started playing with this, like so many light bulbs started going off about, oh, that's what I've been trying to understand. And so we thought we would just come on and kind of play with. I have my human design chart, she has my birth chart, and just play with some of the key planets, maybe your type or my type and profile, and just see like how these two are interacting. And we know human design is partly based on astrology and, several other things. So it makes sense, obviously, but it just felt like there was so much clarity that came through that we really wanted to bring it out and talk about it. So,
Mhm.
welcome, Sherile.
Thanks, Lois. Good to be here.
um, where do you want to start? Do you just want to start with type, or
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm happy to follow your lead. Um, yeah, I think um a little bit more on how, because I'm quite curious as to understand how using the app helped you to clarify your human design, like as far as what were you clarifying, where were you gaining understanding? um I don't know a lot about human design, so that would be interesting for me to kind of understand, I think.
mhm. um, it really started making sense. Like, so if we just even look at my purpose in the app,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is the architect of the healer, right? The
Mm-hmm.
archetype, sorry, of the healer. And the description says you tend to be precise and discerning, a natural healer who treats the body as a sacred instrument, helping people as a mind to body practitioner or teacher or astrologer, um, you know, or a systems keeper, right, for building businesses. And I've been trying to understand as a reflector, what
Mm-hmm.
do I have to offer people? Because you've told me, other people have told me, when we're around you, like you're, you have this sense of grounding, and the reflection just happens without me holding a mirror, like literally holding the mirror. It's me amplifying your energy allows you to see your energy, but I don't know that it's happening. I don't,
Right.
nothing comes over me. And I think, um, like reading that, I was like, oh, I see how,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening from the other person's point of view that I couldn't really see from the description
Right.
of. right? You're a heretic investigator, right? The 5-1
Yeah.
reflector. Okay, what does that mean in layman's terms for how people experience me? And I feel like
Right.
that's what I was getting from the app.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what's interesting about everything that you've just said is that um, what I know about my chart is that I'm a bit of a translator, right? It's just in my nature to take quite complicated or complex ideas and make them digestible. So quite practical, maybe a little bit simpler. And I play with language quite a bit in terms of trying to give people understanding. But I think what's interesting about your chart and how it relates to the app, um, I've used very specific formulas to create archetypes. And the archetypes in the app are generational. So they are decided by the placements of Pluto and Uranus. And so what's interesting is in your chart, Pluto and Uranus are conjunct, right? They're sitting together, both in Virgo, in your 10th house. But what's even more interesting is that you have a grand Earth trine in your chart. So Pluto and Uranus in Virgo in your 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of career, building business. It's your midheaven. It's like where you're headed in this life. So things like public reputation. And then it's trining your south node in Capricorn. And the south node is the point at which we enter this lifetime. So the astrology that I practice is based on incarnations, like past lives incarnations. So not only do you have this powerful ability to show up publicly as this healer that transforms and just, creates opportunities for people's transformation, it would appear that you entered this life with that specific intention. Your soul's specific intention in coming in with your South Node in Capricorn is that you came in leaving consensus behind, and consensus is that state of being the good citizen, or at least that would have been in the early part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third point of your Earth trine connects you to the Moon and Venus in Taurus in your 6th house. And the moon obviously gives you the reflector energy. Venus is the divine feminine energy. So if we connect the dots of this grand Earth trine, we have a whole story. One, you're very grounded and practical in your work, in how you show up in the world, and you're likely to take people on a very structured, well thought out, well planned journey. But if we start with Pluto and Uranus, which are sitting together, they're like 5 degrees apart in Virgo. Virgo is the healer, it's plant medicine. Virgo themes are mind body connection. Virgo themes are systems, building things in a very complicated, intricate manner and getting it right. So that's the precision, right? I always like to tell people that DJs or music producers have strong Virgo because they've got so many wires and they know where everything goes and they make it work and you get this amazing sound, right? That is a very Virgoing skill. And so having Pluto in Virgo, you are of the generation that is here very intentionally to heal the mind body connection. And you can choose whether it's plant medicine, you can choose whether it's, some kind of farmer or practice, right? But also, another theme that's very interesting is that Pluto in Virgo is the sensual, the erotic, right? And you have that in a trine to your moon and Venus in Taurus. And Taurus is the best in terms of textures, right? The best in terms of the body and embodying things. And so if we then connect that to the South Node in Capricorn, which is your entry point into this lifetime, your soul casts this beautiful um, choreography for you, which is like you're going to come in, leaving behind the old structures to come in and really be able to reflect the feminine emotions back to them. And then publicly, you are seen as this healing figure. And just on a final note on that, Uranus is the planet of innovation, freedom, and rebellion. And the reason that I use Uranus as part of the archetype is because Uranus is the planet that breaks bonds for us. It breaks us out of the old habits. It breaks us out of one stage of the soul's journey, allowing us to go into the other. Uranus can give us a spiritual awakening, right? So with Pluto and Uranus sitting together in your 10th house, and this is trining your moon and Venus, you have the ability to create spiritual awakenings for people, to transform them through your particular reflector energy and your approach to healing, which is very uniquely yours. And you've naturally lent into the sensual, the erotic, the reflection, working with women, right? Your archetype literally speaks to this amazing earth trine, grand earth trine formation in your chart.
Yeah. I mean, that feels very me. And I think, like, from the human design side, I was always looking at it through my gate 36 and 6. Right? It's the gate of crisis, but
Okay.
also love of humanity.
Right.
And how, um, even in 36, right, it's anecdotally called the gate of sexual crisis, the gate of juiciness, the gate of fucking, actually.
Oh, wow.
And how, like, that's where I was always trying to almost force the erotic into that, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
and gate 6 is the gate of conflict, and it's the emotional conflict. And I look at all of this as, um, the emotional turbulence within us. When we can't calm that, it puts us in a state of crisis. But when we're able to, you and I talked about it earlier, is when we can manage our emotions and be mindful of what's happening, and actually, like, specifically name the emotion, not
Mm-hmm.
just anger or, the top 5 that everybody uses,
Right.
then it allows us to, um, experience our humanness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe, like, there's a lot of terminology in this industry of alignment and out of alignment, and I don't think there's any such thing as out of alignment. I think we're on an emotional spectrum, and
Mm-hmm.
we're here to experience all of it. So there's no such
Yeah.
thing as out of alignment. You're just on one end of the spectrum or the other. And when we can do that, then we're more able to accept, right, the shadowy aspects, or just
Yeah.
emotions that we don't think we're supposed to be having, or that we
Yeah.
can't tell people we're having, feel like we
Yeah.
can't, right? And I think, like, that's what was kind of all coming together for me in the app and in the conversations you and I have had.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting about astrology, at least evolutionary or karmic astrology, is that everything is about the polarity,
Mhm.
right? So, of course, we must go from one extreme to the other in order to experience the fullness of life. So, like you said, we're never out of alignment, we're just experiencing polarities often. Like, very few people are able to hold the middle,
Mhm.
right? We swing like the pendulum from one extreme to the other. And I think that it's interesting that gate 36 is the gate of, what's it, sexual crisis.
Mhm.
So Uranus is a crisis, Pluto is sex,
Mhm.
right? So you are building a public reputation on that. So I just think that, isn't it interesting that we can have these different interpretations that still conjure up the same like energy,
Yeah.
right? And it's just the idea that, you know, we have to figure out what resonates with us and how to move with it. Because I think one thing I'd say about astrology is that a lot of it is down to interpretation, right? And it sounds like with human design, it is this or it's not. Like, this is what this means. Whereas with astrology, I would say that the Pluto in Virgo, it's not 100% sex in the same way that Pluto in Scorpio would be, or if Virgo was your 8th house, but it's a bit more like sensuality, right? It might be erotic thoughts, it might be fantasies around sex, just because Virgo is a little bit demure, right? Virgo, she's very independent. So it could also be like masturbation rather than sexual crisis and like it's going to be a little bit more withheld, a little bit more demure. But what I would also say is that Pluto in Virgo, for me, brings to mind the story of Persephone, right? The virgin that was taken into the underground, ravished by Hades, etc. So if you understand a little bit about mythology, and most of the mythology I know, I've been taught by Kelly Hunter and a couple of books that I've read, so I'm not a mythologist at all. But I would say that with interpretation, we can actually begin to narrow and refine what it is that we're here to do. So, knowing that we're now talking about almost like Persephone as an archetype in terms of sexual conflict, that feels very different, or sexual crisis, that would feel very different to maybe Pluto in Scorpio, where it is like hardcore sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? So even in that respect, I think that is why it would maybe speak to erotic fiction a little bit more than like downright hardcore, like orgy type energy. And then having Uranus right there, it is the awakening to the sexual fantasy, to the ravishing, to the Persephone's journey into the underworld, right? And now we've got a different type of interpretation just because it's held in a Virgo container and it's in your 10th house of public reputation, right? So you now show up as this person that almost carries the Persephone story and therefore attracts to you those with a Persephone type dynamic or energy at that point in their life. So you're not just healing anyone who is into erotic or the erotica, or anyone who's like sex, sex, sex. It's a very distinct interpretation of sexual crisis, right? Because the virgin having her maiden taken is very different from the prostitute or the sex worker who is very seasoned in her sexual craft, right? And that is what we see with Pluto in your 10th house in Virgo.
Yeah, which makes total sense, right? Because I'm saying erotic fiction is a personal development tool, basically,
Right.
for you to begin to experience your own erotic awakening in a very safe way without consequence, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to explain it. You just can just get lost in the story and experience it through the characters in the story.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting when I was looking up some of the gates earlier. One of the things that describes what gate 36 goes through is that it's growth through profound emotional experience. which is everything we've been talking about, the betrayal, right? As the
Yeah.
basically an entry, the awakening of the life force within you, like all of it is meant to
Mhm.
be like that.
Yeah.
That I didn't grasp before just reading.
Just reading the gate without, yeah. So if we think about Uranus in Virgo, Virgo tends to have like hyper independence traits, and Uranus separates, right? So Uranus does rule over divorce, separation, right? So you can imagine the betrayal that makes the woman become hyper independent, right? I can't trust anybody anymore. I'm just going to have to do it all my way. This is Uranus in Virgo saying, break away, go solo, do it all on your own. You don't need anybody,
Mhm.
right? So it's interesting because this is a great meeting point for you with women when they're in that crisis of whether it be a sexual betrayal, a financial betrayal, because Pluto rules all of the hidden stuff. So where people have hidden money, hidden treasure, sex, drugs, all of those types of hidden things. So a betrayal around any of those things can really, with Uranus right there, the tone that we get is like separate, divorce, go your own way, be independent, and take care of your own needs, right? Which
Mhm.
we know is a hardened response
Right.
to these life events. But then when they come to you, you can very easily take them on this journey where they get back to their femininity, back into their emotions, which is the moon and Venus in Taurus. And then for you personally, there's this whole shift towards um, helping people to open up in terms of recognizing how they can become emotionally safe, how they can reconnect with their personal values, right? And how they can activate their healing to the extent where they come back into their femininity.
Yeah, and so gate 52, which I have, as my north node,
That's
is
what I just explained. It's
is
your
it?
North Node in Cancer.
Yeah.
That is
So
literally what I just read in the chart in the eighth house.
it's all about slowing down time, bringing
Hmm.
others out of stress, right?
Yeah.
And the art of focused. And it says, like, I'm very aligned to the cosmic rhythm and timing. And it's all about the emotional body, which you mentioned just a few minutes
Yeah.
ago.
Because your North Node's in Cancer, right? And Cancer rules emotional safety. So we're saying so many of the same things. I think I think what's happened with the app is that I wrote the app with the intention that people do not need to know or understand astrology. So they will receive their truth and they don't need to know how they got there. They don't need to go and study for a few years. They don't need to get the big textbooks. They don't need to watch all the tutorials and, you know, they can put their birth data in and get some guidance that is very specific to them. And so my job is to make it relatable, to just like bring it down to a grounded level where people can pick it up and run with it. So yeah, that is literally your North Node in Cancer is exactly what that gate 52 spoke of. It's the emotional safety, it's bringing women through. But also what I would always say is that the work that we do for others is what we do for ourselves, right? So it's always reciprocated. But bear in mind that your moon in Taurus is elevated. This speaks to reflector, but then your North Node in Cancer, Cancer rules the moon. So your reflector energy is very certain. There isn't a could be, maybe, maybe not, right? You've got great elevated moon placements, but in this lifetime, you are going from the overly practical, no emotional, very shut down Capricorn energy of your South Node to the feeling feminine North Node in Cancer. And as you do that for the women, you expand on that for yourself.
And I felt that switch. I forget what human design says. Like it's around 40 or 50 that
It's about 50.
50.
Well, that's like your Chiron return. So that might be what it's referring to.
Yeah, but like where you really switch out of South Node and go into North Node. And I totally felt that. I was always very non-emotional at all, right? Very direct business. There's no emotion. And then, like I always say, it's my old age is softening me, but it's probably this transition, right, that I went through. And it's really settling in now, right? 10 years after it began.
I mean, the thing with the North and South Node, if you imagine that, we shuttle, we shunt back and forth, right? We try and go towards our North Node. Oh, it's a little bit too much. We fall back into the comfort of the South Node. And we keep doing that until we get to a point where we're more towards the North than the South. And it doesn't mean we never collapse back. Of course we do. But we just start to get more and more comfortable with going forward, and we seek the comfort a little bit less. And even if we do go back to the comfort, we go with the imprint, the knowledge and understanding of the North Node, right? So it's like, for you, even if you do fall back into quite a Capricorn state, very like, let's build a framework, you now build it with emotion. You're not just going to go, who cares about how people feel? Let's just get this done. You are going to build with that emotional aspect involved.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to look at. So I have both my moon and Venus are in the same gate, 24.
Conjunct.
Which is all about going back to the roots to examine patterns. And it offers archetypal and universal transformation. And I thought that was pretty aligned with the conversation as well, right?
So can I ask you this? Does human design use aspects? So when it talks about planetary placements, because we have like squares, trines, sextiles, etc. Does human design have something similar?
I think it does, but we don't ever talk about it, because if in the really deep reference book, if you go to the back, it does have some aspect info back there, but it's never really talked about. I don't know where or how it's used, but I think it is used.
Right. Because so your moon and Venus are 2 degrees apart in Taurus. And Taurus can be the roots, because Taurus rules, the earth, the ground, right? The beautiful garden. And they are trining your Pluto and Uranus, and also your South Node in Capricorn. So going back to your roots, but then the archetypal nature, for me, will always come with the outer planets, because they're generational. And for me, an archetype should be based on the outer planets, because they move so slowly. So there's a whole generation born with Pluto and Uranus in Virgo. You're here for a purpose. You're here to serve these future generations based on what's imprinted for you, right? And so I find it fascinating that, what is it, Gate 24 is saying it's about going back to your roots and repeat it. What did it say?
To examine patterns, right?
Pluto in Virgo, right?
And that's, everything that I teach, right, is about pattern recognition and all of that.
So in astrology, we would get that from that beautiful trine from Taurus to Virgo, which is why I asked about aspects, because, you know, it's interesting that you have these placements, and while they can be quite specific, they are open to interpretation, right? So, you know, the moon covers a myriad of interpretations, but the one that is most relevant is ancestors, right? So the moon rules the fourth house of the mother, the family, the ancestors. So, and you've got that in Taurus. So it's like going back to the roots, like physically and ancestrally, right? So you are pulling on, whether you recognize it or not, and I'm sure you do, female ancestors and their gifts and their patterns and their way of showing up. So it's almost as if, because the moon is the soul placement in karmic astrology, right, as well as ancestors. So you come from a soul tribe of female ancestors that were probably all lunatics, right, or lunophiles, right, and knew how to work with the lunar energies and understood the emotional work, right? Who knows? They could have been midwives, because your North Node, well, your 8th house is in Cancer, right? Which is the ruling planet of the moon. So it would be interesting to kind of know how that ancestry informs your archetype as the healer. So do you have witches, healers, medicine women, right, in your ancestry, midwives, right, that makes you a healer in the purpose archetype? And I'd guess yes. I would hazard a guess.
I would think so.
Yeah. And we're emphasizing and really highlighting the earth trine as far as plant medicine, right? Working with literal roots, right? Like flower remedies. I don't know, but we've got, you know, that herbal, sensual, grounded energy as far as medicine, right? So really practical, useful stuff. So I
Well,
would imagine you have all of those ancestors.
yeah, which is interesting, right? Because if we look at my profile of 5-1, that it's transpersonal destiny, which means I'm here to deal with karma, and I'm designed to have encounters with others that can be important, potentially mutative for both you and them, which is everything we talk about. Like, I should be in partnerships with people, right?
This is wild.
Right? That's why I kept going, what? Um,
My thing is, I don't understand the gates.
so that's what I was gonna, since I have 24, oh, the gates, not the lines.
Yeah, what are gates? Is it like houses? What is the equivalent in astrology? Or is there an equivalent? This is what I don't really
It's not
understand.
astrology, it's the mandala wheel, right?
Right.
Isn't that where all the gates come from?
What, in astrology? Sorry, what was your question?
I don't know.
You asked about the mandala. Are you talking
I
about a
thought that
birth
was
chart?
I thought that was the wheel that had the gates on it.
In human design, because we don't use gates in astrology, we use houses and degrees.
But it was
So the wheel is the
part of
zodiac
the,
wheel with the 12 houses that represent the 12 signs.
yeah, I think the gates come from the I Ching.
So what are they then? What do gates mean? What is a gate? Because like a house represents an area of life. 12 houses, 12 distinct areas of life. And then within each house, 30 degrees. So then we can get really specific. And in fact, each house is split into 3 decans. Each decan will have a meaning. And then within each of those decans, those degrees can also be interpreted. So that's what I'm trying to understand, if there is a correlation between a gate and an astrological term. If there's anybody out there who knows, that
I
answers on a
don't think,
postcard.
I don't think it's, I think it correlates to, I'm asking the AIs, right? Because I don't know. I don't know how it correlates,
Okay.
or if it does.
That's something we can figure out.
Yeah, 64 hexagrams of the I Ching.
And that's gene keys, right? Gene keys uses the I Ching as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there are 64 gene keys.
Right.
And is it Richard Rudd who does gene keys, and he also teaches human design?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
makes
that
sense.
it comes from there, but then human design repackages them into a different system with its own terminology. So it doesn't really tell me.
Okay. So yeah, so the pulling on your roots is definitely karmic. Like the moon is your soul placement. And of course we have all of these aspects that let us know where there is karma to be resolved, the work that you're here to do in this life. So we can look at the Pluto polarity point, which for you is interestingly your Chiron in Pisces. We have a stellium. So the work for you to do is to get into really deep healing of wounds and traumas. And it's interesting that that is in your 4th house. So again, you're here to clear the karma of your ancestors. So I don't know if people were putting hexes and spells on people and now you got to turn them around. Or if somebody turned a customer away and they didn't want to give them their herbal medicine. I don't know. Or did somebody sleep with somebody's husband back in the day and you're dealing with their karma? It's very interesting because your Chiron is conjunct Mars and your Sun. And so it would indicate that all of this in your 4th house in Pisces, that you came from a particularly maybe religious or at least spiritual home or ancestral line. And there was wounding around that, like probably a great deal of wounding karmically. And the other thing that I find really interesting, actually, is that Pluto in Virgo, those souls remember their time when they were with Christ walking the earth, right? So Christ is a Pluto in Virgo. And there have been quite a few people who have theories around this, that if you're a Pluto in Virgo, you will get flashes of recognition of what it was like to be the person that heals the masses or be a part of his entourage or just present in his lifetime, watching him do all of these miracles and healing people. And here you are with Chiron as you're on your polarity point of Pluto, which is a direct indication of the work you're here to do, right? This is what you're here to transform. So you've carried with you over all of these centuries the Christ consciousness of, I'm here to heal people. It makes you the healer.
Which is really interesting, right? Because if we look at the 5-1, it says this is the profile of saviors and generals. And it's very seductive. The heretic investigators are projected upon to save or rescue others with a practical solution in a time of crisis.
Bread and fishes. Turn that water into wine, honey. Water into wine is very Pisces.
Yes, it is.
If anyone's ill, glass of wine coming your way. And you make bread. Listen, bread, wine, here we are. Christ consciousness activated. But yeah, so I find that really interesting that your Pluto polarity point, your Chiron sits there. And of course, you're the healer, but you lived in the times of maybe the most famous healer in all of humanity to a certain extent. I mean, I'm Western, aren't I? So I don't know. But
That's
to have that show up in your chart in your fourth house, right? There's definitely some ancestral karma that you're here to work with. And we can go a little bit further and see that you have Lilith trining your Chiron. And if we think about the mythology of Lilith or the archetype, she was the first Eve, right? Demonized for her independence, her wit, her wisdom, her abilities. And you have that trine from Lilith to Chiron, right? So definitely a medicine woman. And that's in your 12th house, actually. So hidden, it was private. You had to hide to do what you were doing then. And karmically, you would. So, karma, just to clarify, is not punishment, right? Everyone thinks that karma's like, oh, karma's going to bite you in the ass. Well, sometimes karma's great. So, yeah. And it's like, it's simply a buildup of energy over lifetimes. And there's no good or bad. It just is what it is. And we resolve karma by doing the work in this life that we may have avoided before, or where we built up so much energy, it's inevitable that we continue that work here. But sometimes we are here to resolve the karma of our ancestors, and they actually push us along in life. Like, they'll push us into work. They're like, come on, you got to finish the job. Like, I started it in 16 whatever, and such continued it. It's your turn, right? There's no getting out of it. So, apart from your own reincarnation, ancestrally, you definitely are that healer woman with such a great knowledge of the occult, the earth, etc. And you're here to heal people in your own unique way.
right.
So you just need to remember everything now, Lois. What did I do back in the Civil War?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, it's interesting. So if we just read what a reflector is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are totally unique in their perspective, quietly unobtrusive in their auric presence, and extraordinary in their role. They're born with a special attunement to a cosmic environment and to the impact of the neutrino field of human beings. Like a canary in a coal mine, they sample, reflect, and judge the quality of the environment on any given day. And they can also measure others' attunement to it. They sense who is living authentically and who has been conditioned by the transit field and become a victim of it. Reflectors can tell who is ready to become their own authority, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They sense or feel the physical, psychic, and emotional health of an environment, community, or group, and they are here to judge what is working correctly or not. Goes on, but that was like, oh, again, we just have a conversation about authority, right? And
So
then
accurate. But your moon, the reflector, trines the South Node in Capricorn. Capricorn is authority. And it's in your second house of values, belief, system, not belief, sorry, values, talents, self-worth, right? So you're constantly sampling so it's in your sixth house, right? Your moon and Venus are in your sixth house. I don't know if this is going to resonate, but it's almost like you're constantly sampling your employees to see who has authority to go ahead and do the next thing. It's like you're always looking for people to promote. Like, who is there that I can now take on this journey of transformation and put them at the top of the tree? So sixth house is like employees. But the sixth house is the mind-body connection. That's the house that Virgo rules. So you just have this like beautiful repetition, right? Where you are the head employee and you're always looking for the next employee to promote.
Which makes, yeah, I mean, if we go back to my corporate life, that's every one of my employees. I told them your job is to work yourself out of your position. Like,
yeah,
you're not, I don't want you to be irreplaceable, because if I can't replace you, then I can't promote you. So your job is to become replaceable. And in the beginning, that was hard for people. They're like, what are you talking about? But
right.
over time, it was like I became known for that. Of every single person that ever worked for me got promoted within or without, externally. Because I'm like, I am never going to hold you back. You're here to grow and go. Not, I don't want you staying. You're not here for a lifetime.
Isn't that interesting? So you do that naturally. It's, I mean, it's who you are.
And even people, peers, and even managers above me, I instilled that same thing. Like, it wasn't even just the employees, it was constant. Like, don't.
Everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
So when it talks about being the canary in the coal mine and you sampling and reflecting back, that is one of the things that you're sampling. So you're looking at mind-body connection. You're looking at the employees, right? Maybe the team players, right? You're also looking at things like disease, right? And not all disease is viral, as you know. Some of it is like emotion related or stress related. So it's like you can sense in people, it's time for you to slow down, or time for you to push through, it's time for you to whatever. And a lot of that for you is about pushing women to be the best that they can be. Just because of that Venus, the moon, they're both feminine energies, and your North Node's in Cancer. But even Capricorn is a feminine Saturnian energy, and Aquarius is the masculine. And your Saturn is in Aquarius, right on, it's at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So it's very lit up, very active. So a lot of your redemption stories are around communities. It's around maybe like charity and non-profits, but it is around rebellion, freedom, and awakening. So if you imagine that you can use technology to release people from their karma, their soul ties, the bonds that have been holding them, that is a really powerful way for you to show up. So at 29 degrees of Aquarius, right on the cusp of going into Pisces. Saturn does not like being in Pisces because Pisces dissolves structures. So it's a very heightened Saturn that you've got, because it's just still in Aquarius, but looking forward into Pisces. And that is not, it's almost like you were like, no, I need to still be able to get some people some redemption. And having Saturn in Aquarius will give you redemption or help people to be redeemed from separations, from divorces, right? Because Aquarius and Uranus rule over those. So isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
So redeeming people and your own redemption as part of it, is really powerful. This is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any other gates that you find interesting, or anything else that came up in the app that gave you maybe some clarity?
I think the only gate that I was thinking of was So I have 42 in Jupiter. We talked about that though, didn't we?
I don't think we mentioned Jupiter. What's
So
gate 42? Your Jupiter's in Aries.
yeah, 42, which is expectation, the shadow of expectation to the gift of detachment. And according to the gene keys, the dilemma to get there, you go through disappointment, right? And disappointment is the reflector's like out of alignment cue, basically.
Oh, okay.
So surprise is how I'm like in the highest expression. It's always like life is surprising me, but disappointment is when I'm out of alignment. But this is it's about life as a story and our attachment to the story. And my whole thing is helping you shed your attachment
The
to
story.
stories.
So the fifth house rules authors. You've got Mercury in the fifth in Aries, 0 degrees. So Jupiter in the fifth house is actually a pretty decent placement. Jupiter rules publishing. Fifth house is the author. You've got a Pisces sun. You're all about the stories. And what Jupiter will do is expand the stories sometimes. Well, all the time, it's a planet of expansion, right? But it's also going to take the stories out of here and put them where everybody else can get access, right? And having that in the fifth house, it's really all about your own stories, right? Rather than other people's. So it's like the stories you love, the stories that light you up, the stories that you want to play with, right? And then sometimes, and here's where we could get a little bit back to the betrayal, it could be the stories of romance, because the fifth house rules romance. So it's the stories, this is the erotic fiction, right? The stories of romance, the stories around, relationships, dating, right? I mean, fifth house is also children. So there's definitely that element of what Jupiter's expanding for you is the stories. So maybe it's like they're expanded so you can see them, because Jupiter rules Pisces as well as Sag, and Pisces is the vision, and that's where your Sun, Mars, and Chiron are. So it's almost like having Jupiter in your fifth house. In Aries, this is like a coaching element for you where you can see the stories.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where people are making stories up or marrying stories that really are only stories for them to play with. It's not that serious, hun, right? Kind of energy.
It's funny. So I had highlighted these pages at some time in the past, and just the sentences that I highlighted are like making me laugh right now. The gift of detachment becomes the master of letting go. We begin to become more and more fearless and trusting in the great flow. The more we evolve in life, the more feminine we become. And to be feminine means we don't react to drama or fight with others. When a woman unites that inner courage and tenderness, she becomes whole again. Detachment means that we even surrender to our gender. Detachment is about desire. We have subtle layers of desire, and we have to move through layer after layer and let go of each one. And then as we become more detached, we ironically become more playful with Maya. We engage more with life and its richness and become a whole human, loving life, loving the mystery, loving whatever it delivers, because we know it's all for the highest purpose.
Wow.
That's pretty much my coaching promise, right?
No, but that is that is quite profound. And I think there's an element of you leading by example as well with your sad rising, as well as your Pisces sun. So you're very Jupiterian as an energy, as a soul. But yeah, like it's such a big part of your work that you work with and through stories, you know, which now I'm thinking about it, you just need to do more stories. Remember I said to you the other day, you should do sleep stories.
Mm-hmm.
There
But
it goes. There's the evidence.
yeah, but this also plays right into writing erotic fiction, reading
Yeah.
erotic stories to help
You see, I
facilitate.
don't think you should read erotic stories.
I mean, the people reading them,
Yeah, but I think
clients
you
reading them.
should create content around stories, and they could be mythology as opposed to sleep. But I don't know if they'll make people go to sleep. I don't know. But because of your Pisces placements, right? It's like the old and the ancient, right? Stories of the temple. And I know that you use, you know, like Inanna, etc., in your work. And it's almost like those old mythological stories of romance and, you know, the divine masculine and divine feminine, how they come together, how they get separated and torn apart, and the angst of it all. And I know that you do use them, but I think if you were like recording audios of those with those beautiful Taurus placements, that would be such a powerful teaching tool for your clients. Like the whole story thing, like it is really emphasized, like seriously emphasized. And even having your 10th house in Virgo, Virgo is technically the editor, but Virgo does write, you know, like it's ruled by Mercury. There's writing and communication. And then there's a little mischief in here with Mercury, because Mercury is the planet that dances between the dark and the light, you know. So Mercury will go into the dark, grab the story, bring it into the light for people to enjoy, and then snatch it away again if it needs to. And I just think there's so much here around helping people shed their stories. I just think that's really powerful.
Another another way that they describe gate 36, right? The gate of crisis, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
darkening of the light.
Right.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah. I quite like that, because I think that there has to be people like us who will sit with people in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, you know, there are always, and I think there always will be, people who demand and insist, right, that you come into the light, like do your work, get into the light or whatever. Like when I did the exhibition, when did I do that? Was that last month? Yeah, it's still June. I went to one of the crystal stores and I was browsing, and I asked if she had any Moldavite. Oh no, I would never stock Moldavite. And I was like, is that because you can't get hold of it? Or she's like, no, it's destructive. I've watched it break families apart. I've watched it, people lose their homes. I will never sell anything that is so dark and destructive. And I had a Moldavite ring on. And I just looked at her. I said, okay, thanks. And I was like, but people are like deathly afraid of the dark. But if we don't go into the dark, we don't even appreciate the light,
Right.
right? But all of our transformation happens in the dark, right? So a new moon, you know, Pluto energy, we need people that aren't afraid of the dark. And a canary is definitely not afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
So,
Well, which is basically why I used Inanna, right? As the archetype,
yeah,
because it's descension. Like you have to descend before you can rise. Like
absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
place that we're all playing at is such a false foundation, and
Yeah.
you just can't evolve from there. You have to go down first.
Yeah. Yeah. And Virgo will definitely allow you to descend. Right. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I think, you know, with explanations of the gates, I can kind of see how they marry with the astrology or like reflect the astrology, because I don't think it's always exact, but the general themes and ideas do relate. And I can see, okay, we're talking about this planet in this placement, right? The condition of the house or whatever. I can see how that works. And I guess what's really useful is that, you know, if people just want to understand themselves more, then there are at least two tools that are going to help them, astrology or human design, right? Because I think we've just demonstrated some of the really powerful similarities. Um, and then it's really just a case of translation,
Mhm.
you know, and you sit with a good astrologer or a good human design, what are they called? Practitioners.
Yeah. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen readings, right? So,
Yeah. Then they will translate for you. They'll make sure that you understand what you need to know and understand. Um, but yeah, I think going back to the purpose archetype, that Pluto and Uranus in Virgo trining these other earth houses and everything that they're bringing up, I think it just makes perfect sense.
mhm.
Not to mention your North Node in Cancer. Yeah, very interesting.
So
I
I
love
think
that your work is healing, though. I just think that's a little bit of a challenge for you because I don't know that you see yourself as a healer.
only because I hate the way this industry has bastardized healing, because it's not making it like it never happened. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
not what we're doing. We're
yeah.
learning to exist with something, not eradicate something.
Mm. And also, if you just think about the polarity point for your Pluto, which is in the fourth house of the people, the wounded people, because that's where your Chiron is, that's the kind of healer, right? Not the one who's like selective, like somebody comes and touches your gown, you're like, how can I help you? Like, you're like, oh, let's see your patterns. Let me reflect something back to you. But it is that ability to work with almost anyone, no matter where they are, what's going on. Yes, betrayal, but also sick and tired of something, you know, looking for the next move, making a shift, whatever it is that they are ready for or ready to release.
Mhm.
Um, you know, you help them to let go of things so that they can move forward into their next phase.
Yeah.
And that is your moon trining your south node and sextiling your north.
It's interesting because Ra said reflectors are here to find the weirdos, which I think that's how I found you.
Set me up for that one, Lois.
But it is interesting, right? It is the people that stand out or find me or I find them are all very unique in their beliefs, in what they're trying to do or build or whatever.
Yeah,
But I really think it is, I think what he was saying is the masses are not who I'm looking for, right? Not
yeah.
the average person.
Hmm.
I'm looking for that one that is ready to make a move.
Yeah, yeah. And that's mostly women.
Hmm. Yeah, in this
I
era.
think because they exclusively women, really. Moon, Venus, North Node in Cancer. And that is how you work. I also think it's interesting that your Uranus in Virgo is aspecting everything as well, and just essentially empowering you to demonstrate what freedom and rebellion and awakenedness or awakening looks like, right? You're an example of everything that you offer to others just because you've lived through it, you know, and you just demonstrate to people what they have to look forward to if that's what they're looking for. Yeah. So yeah, I'd find it interesting if you were to be in the company of another reflector. Has that happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, because they're rare. I think, are they the rarest of the human design?
1% of the population.
Yeah, so I would find it very interesting to see what would happen. Maybe it won't happen because it is really powerful, that gift.
That's what I keep
Yeah.
telling my husband. He
Well,
should
it's
count himself
ancestral.
right.
No, you pulled it up from centuries of ancestors. You're like, I'll take it all. Bring it on. But yeah, it is super powerful gift. But you are you know, you're from generations of healers. It's not new. You know, you come all the way from the times of Christ. So whether you were a disciple or just around in those times, you learned the possibilities of miracles and healing. How could you not be so greatly influenced that you made that decision and probably took a vow or something at that point to always heal in whatever lifetime? Because that's you know, you've got a pretty busy fourth house, North Node in Cancer and the moon in Taurus. Like, it's not an accident that you're a reflector, but it's also very intentional that you're here to heal. So maybe you could help educate people on the real meaning of healing rather than how it is kind of bandied about these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this has been really useful. Especially because I don't know human design. Like, I know what my lines are. I know a couple of things about myself, but I could never help anybody else with it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
inadvertently, you're making it easier to understand through the app.
I love that. I love that. So how did you use it then? How were you able to find out that it was so much easier? What did you do?
In the app, you mean?
Yeah. So like, say somebody else is like, they've got their human design chart. They're going to like use the app to like help them understand. What was your process?
So your chat feature, the Ask Sherile, she doesn't know anything about human design. So I would just take pieces of it and say, my human design gate, blah, 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 means this. Where else do you see that in my chart? And can you tell it to me in English, basically, right? I don't need to know that it's, Taurus in the X house aspect this or trying that. I just want to know, like, in layman's terms, what the hell does that even mean? And how do I embody it? Like, how do I start, like, really experimenting or practicing with it? And she would come back and tell me. And she would say, I really know nothing about human design, so I'm only telling you like this based on your chart.
Your chart. And it would all correlate, all marries up.
Yeah. It was like a Rubik's Cube.
How did you think to do that? It's that reflector, isn't it? It's that reflector. You were like,
I'm always pulling everything that's coming through and trying to mush it all together to see if it's
Yeah.
the same story or not, same storyline.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. So if anyone's got their human design chart and there's anything you don't understand, ask Sherile.
That's real.
Yeah, apparently she doesn't need to know human design. But yeah, I think it's important that things are laymanized, that it's simple and easy to understand. And I think that is something that I focus on quite heavily. And I'm constantly working on in the app. So because I use it myself, every now and then I'll see something and I'll be like, oh no, we're changing that. That's not,
Mhm.
that's a bit too technical and no one cares about where their Venus placement is. Like, let's remove that and let's talk about what it actually means. Because the idea is that people can go live a better life with knowledge and guidance, and just feel confident that they know that this too shall pass,
Yeah.
right? This is temporary. This is called a transit. This is not your whole life,
Mhm.
good or bad, right? No matter how you feel about it, know that something is going on in the energy and it is affecting you. But it's not permanent, you know? So,
I think it helps you realize you're not crazy, right?
yeah.
That yes, you have acted this way or been this way because of something particular. Like it's not a flaw, it's not a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
It is how you were designed. And then you get
Yeah.
to do the work of learning to love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think self acceptance is absolutely crucial, right? For us to do anything
Mm-hmm.
that we really want to do in this life. Um, and one of the things that astrology does is it allows you to accept yourself as you are, especially with your strengths, and to maybe not worry so much about what other people might call weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as we know what we're here to do and where we're powerful, can focus on that. We can hire people for the other bits,
Mm.
you know, or ask a friend to help you out or whatever.
Yep.
But I think self-acceptance is key. And thank goodness you learned that you were a reflector, because you'd have been reflecting all over the place and driving yourself crazy. Like, what on earth is going on? Because if you imagine that your moon in Taurus is trining your Pluto in Virgo, so Virgo does rule, so Scorpio rules the occult, Virgo rules metaphysics. So that makes you deeply intuitive or psychic, right? So Pluto rules Scorpio, that is the occult. In Virgo, metaphysics with the moon, right? Which is intuition. Like, that would have been driving you crazy at some point if you don't have understanding of what is going on and why these things happen to you. Why do you get hits? Why are you always sensing things? And that is a very, very clear like theme in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear.
Well, even the thing that it really helped in the beginning was understanding amplification and how, like, husbands, if he is grumpy at me, I 10x that and give it back to him. And then I'm like,
Right.
I wasn't even grumpy like 10 minutes ago. Like, what happened? And I couldn't
Yeah.
understand why. And the same, like, if somebody was happy or whatever, that elation would come out. And it was just,
Yeah.
it felt like I didn't own my emotions.
Stop.
Uh,
Yeah.
because people, but especially the moon, affects a reflector more than people do. So
Yeah.
when it's doing its cycle, I'm feeling every bit of that and
Yeah.
not knowing why. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a lot. Like, you will be feeling, sensing, tapping in, tuning in constantly, right? Because the moon is the moon. Um, but yeah, picking up on other people's energy and mood, that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Like,
When you don't know
constantly.
how to separate it
Yeah.
and tell, right? It's
Yeah. And you've got it in the 6th house, so it's like all day, every day, right? It's not even at bedtime or first thing in
Well,
the
and that's,
morning. It is
yeah,
6th house of mundane.
even the fact that we sleep in the same bed
Can be hard work.
doesn't let my energy separate from him. So
Yeah.
reflectors are supposed to sleep alone, according to Ra, just for
It
that
makes
purpose.
sense.
Mm.
It makes sense, but I don't think I
That,
would.
that doesn't make for a great marriage.
No, I don't
So,
think I would.
yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
very hard sleeper, so I just count on that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
But yeah, I think that's fascinating. I just love that you decided to do that and got such amazing results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So Ask Sherile lives on. She's doing great work.
It is. She
I
might need
love her honesty. I don't know any human design. Here's what I can tell you.
It's like I know nothing about human physics.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know.
Yes. But
Yeah.
better than typical AI that just hallucinates and makes shit up, right?
Makes stuff up. Like apparently ChatGPT doesn't believe in astrology, and yet Claude does.
Which is funny because it talks to me about astrology all the time, but it
What
didn't.
chat?
Mhm.
I think I can't remember the exact phrasing, but I think what the person had done was put their answers from the challenge into chat and said, oh, this is based on my birth chart and astrology. And what should I do? And chat was like, well, astrology is not real, so don't wait for astrology or something like that. And then when they put it into Claude was like, yeah, this is great. Like the astrology is really powerful or something. And I was like, I know who I'm rocking with, just saying. But OpenAI are very much a consensus group of people. And I called Sam Altman out a while ago when we had the comet. I was like, yeah, it's unfortunate. Because the thing is, like, we have to figure out how to use AI to benefit us. But the fish rots from the head down, is the saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. So who's making the ultimate decisions about how that AI operates?
Yeah.
It's well known that Claude has a moral compass installed and chat doesn't.
Yeah. My work is challenging on Claude because it doesn't want to go into the erotic as deeply as chat will. It
Oh,
won't.
that makes
It
sense.
tells me all the time, no, sorry. So then I go
The
back to
moral compass is
okay.
alive and kicking.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
But no.
But chat, no morals over here. Bring it up. Do you want it? What do you want? An
Talk dirty.
OnlyFans, a
Talk dirty.
Pornhub? Come on. What level of smut are you after?
So, that's right. It'll let me go pretty dang deep.
Chat is like, no, boss, hold here. Come on. Let's have it all. Of course. Of
As
course.
it
That
opens
is
the beer and
funny.
takes a swig, and then on we go.
That is hilarious.
Uh,
Oh my goodness. That is funny. That is really
I
funny.
like. I still like it for philosophical discussions better than Claude because Claude wants to be very literal, and I'm like, no, I don't want literal. Let's
Okay.
play with this and see how I
Yeah.
can pull threads, kind of like you just asked, why did I think to do that? It's like I want to
Yeah.
pull little threads from multiple things and see if they relate or not. And Claude
Yeah.
does do that very well.
Okay. That's interesting, isn't it? You've got to use what works for
Mhm.
you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going back to chat though. 1000% all the way,
you're,
Claude.
you're probably not writing erotic fiction either, so it's
I'm
your
probably
safe.
not. Definitely not. Definitely not. And I'm also not doing too much philosophy now. I think about it. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, different strokes for different folks, but I think there's an AI out there for most people. if that's what they're thinking. I know it's still a little bit sensitive, but yeah.
I think right now I'm playing in both worlds, so we'll see.
And then you get the best of both. There you
And
go.
then I have Sherile. So
Which is the best of all three, obviously.
she is, she's the one that knows me the best, for sure.
At this point,
Right?
definitely. She's got your birth chart, honey. When someone's got your birth chart, oh, there's no hiding, no escaping. So, yeah. So, okay. So, what are you working on at the moment then?
That's a good question. Clarity of
Now that you've finished your challenge, you've got your offer, what's next?
Yeah, now it's like getting really clear on the messaging for it,
Okay.
which it feels like it's right here in the book. I just need to write it down. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So you'll be maybe introducing something new soon, or?
yes. Are you pushing me?
No, I'm just like, I just imagine that people are going to want to know.
Yes.
We're
So,
all a little bit nosy, aren't we? It's like, what's next?
yes. We'll be doing something very soon with my archetypes and what that means.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So people will be able to work with you in maybe a slightly different way or just new and improved way. But I think that's exciting.
Yeah. I
think it's
they
really
can
exciting.
enter at in a shorter term container, just if they're curious, especially, but want to do some real work in that time frame
Mm-hmm.
versus my normal long term offers. So,
Right. Okay. So almost like not quite a taster, but just a smaller curriculum, shorter.
yeah, almost like a long term dual two-way interview, right? Of do we want to work together? Are we compatible? Do you, once you see the work that is going to take place, are you ready for it? Right? It's really a readiness
Yeah.
assessment for me and them to decide if they're ready and willing to do the work. That
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like fun.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially for
sometimes
people
we're just
who
not
read
ready, right?
erotic fiction. What a great way to do your work with your
Yeah.
favorite genre.
Go read A Court of Thorns and Roses and come back.
There you go. Then you'll be ready.
That's right. tell me
A
what
little
book you're
smut to get you
reading
ready.
and know exactly where we're going to start, right?
Yeah, little smut to get you in the mood for Lois. Come on. Yeah, it's a huge movement. It's got to be a reason behind it. So, yeah.
What's next with the Purpose Code app?
So we've just finished the challenge, Decode Your Offer, which I'm pleasantly surprised at how well it went. I think most people finished. A couple of people are still working through, but it's in the app, so they can just keep working. And I will be running the offer again, like a couple of times in this year. I just want to keep repeating it. But the next thing for the app is the health tab. So I'm currently doing consultations with people to get a deeper understanding of health and how that is showing up in people's birth charts so that I can get the calculations correct, so that I know exactly what we need to be looking at. So without giving too much away, the way that I wrote the app is with my own experience of reading birth charts combined with what I've learned from my teachers and schools. And the other thing was that I downloaded the app predominantly from a very specific energy that chose me. I don't know who else this energy chose, but it definitely chose me. And the majority of the app was downloaded and written in April as Mercury was coming out of retrograde in Pisces. So that's where most of the downloads were happening during that time. And so yeah, I'm constantly getting little nudges as to, like, you know, you need this as well. So if we think about the subject of purpose, you're not going to do very great work if you don't have your health. I also think that health tends to crop up for people when they are out of their purpose or afraid to really step into it. So whether it's stress related, whether it's an actual physical ailment, you know, looking at the birth chart, I can see what you were born with, whether you're accident prone. I can see if you're prone to certain conditions, diseases. And in some cases, there are remedies as well. You know, other things you might not be able to do much about, apart from know that this is a thing. So I did a consultation yesterday, and it was really interesting because the person that I spoke with, they've had migraines for most of their life, like since like early teens onwards, and they get them regularly. And this person has Chiron in the first house, and the first house rules the head, neck, shoulders, that area. So having Chiron there indicates some kind of like head injury or head trauma, because Chiron is like trauma and wounds, and they suffer with migraines. You know, so it's small things like that, which there's some stuff that you can learn in astrology in a book. You know what the houses mean, you know what the conditions is by the sign that's there, blah blah blah. But then there are going to be other things that come up that can be quite surprising. You know, we know that Pisces rules vision, but the moon at 1 degree of Pisces has caused somebody to go blind in their lifetime or develop blindness, which is something that I learned through consultations. I've never read that in a book or heard anyone else speak about it. So this is why I'm doing the consultations, because, you know, health is important, and it's one of those things where people just need a bit of guidance. And if anyone has had a recent diagnosis or health episode, it's probably because Chiron has just gone into Taurus. And depending on where that is for you, there will be an indication. But effectively, what that is saying to us is that there's an invitation here for the wounds to be embodied. So if you've been carrying, you know, suppressed emotions for years, here they come, right? In whatever form they decide to show up.
Do you get into the birth experience?
I don't.
Or
No. So that's something that I would do more around like past life stuff. I think for this, I'm mostly focused on mind body. I can't give medical advice through the app, so I don't want to do that. But I do want to say to people that you're prone towards this, or, you know, so if somebody puts a question in and says, this is happening to me, why? You know, I want Ask Sherile to read their chart and say, this is why. And you're prone to this, or this is inherited, or this may have happened on a transit, so you can reverse it, right? So if people already know, you know, that they're prone to certain things, and then those things are popping up, then I just think it'll be really useful.
it's
And maybe
interesting.
there'll be a few like practices recommended to avoid the medical lawsuits. You know, a bit of somatic healing, maybe a little bit of yoga or whatever, Pilates, stuff like that.
Be interesting. I should go back and play with my chart, because the way we talked about like how this isn't an accident why I'm here. So I was breech, and my mom was in labor
Really?
for 48 hours with me, to waiting, because they were waiting for me to turn, right back in the old days.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't. And I wonder if if I had been born 2 days prior, would I not be a reflector? Right.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, I might
No,
be
you
because it's
wouldn't.
windows of
You
time.
wouldn't have been, I don't
So it
think.
just depends on where the gates are for.
I'll tell you why you wouldn't have been, because the moon and Venus are very fast moving, especially the moon. So the moon would have been in a completely different sign. So you wouldn't have had that lineup of the Earth trine that we've got. And Venus moves pretty quickly.
Right.
No, you wouldn't have. The nodes would have been in more or less the same place, Pluto and Uranus. But the thing that really empowers your chart as far as the reflector is your moon and Venus together in Taurus. And the moon would not have been there.
Right. But so if the sun was on line 5, it would have been in different gates the next day or two.
Yeah.
Which could have made a connection with another gate that was also changed in that time. So I might.
You might what? You might have still been a reflector.
It might have still been a reflector.
If you were born 2 days before.
Yeah. Because it's pockets, it's windows where, because 2 gates have to connect for me not to be a reflector.
Right.
I don't have any gates that connect to other gates. That's what makes me all open.
Right.
So if something moved and it made the connection, I wouldn't be, but if everything moved but it still didn't connect, I would be.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So I'm just looking at your moon placement, right?
Yeah.
And your moon's obviously in Taurus, right, which is a great placement. And then I'm thinking Venus would have been in a different placement. So I don't think you would have had the Earth trine, the grand Earth trine. I think you would have had maybe 10th and 2nd house trining. But I think you'd have missed that really powerful placement. Because you've effectively got a yod across your chart, right? Which they call the finger of God, right? It's like, that is vital to making you who you are. And that wouldn't have happened if the moon and Venus weren't in Taurus at those degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was when your soul wanted to arrive, that's your moon placement, right? So that's very intentional. Yeah. That's your soul's intention, that it was born at that time on that day. I mean, even if you were any later, you know, same thing. But then your sun might have been in Aries, whole different person. But
yeah. So
that is interesting.
2 days earlier, I would have been a projector.
2 days earlier, you'd have been a projector.
Mm-hmm.
How common?
Who wants to be
There's so many projectors. Oh my god. But projectors aren't that common, actually. I think generators are the most common, aren't they?
Yeah. Generator mani-gens are 75% of the population. So
yeah, I don't think projectors are that common. Yeah. But how interesting. So it's your soul's intention. Mm-hmm. There are no mistakes. You were like, how can I hold this up? Feet first.
Not coming.
Feet first.
Yep.
So you decided to come out and stand on your own 2 feet, day one. Very interesting.
Very independent, very stubborn, very like all of that as a child. So makes total sense.
Yeah. But you know, Pisces is the feet.
So thinking ancestrally, though, or even familial, my mom, when um, she was born in 1942 on September 2nd, but they didn't think she was going to live. So they were waiting. 2 days later, they said, okay, she is going to live. And when they made her birth certificate, they made it for the 2 days later, and
For
they
the
totally
fourth.
changed her name. And she didn't know that until she tried to come get a green card and come to the United States, like her whole life.
Where is she
But
from?
Canada,
And that's what they did. That is wild.
yeah, back then, like, don't bother making a birth
So they
certificate
gave
we don't know.
her
But
a
I think,
2-day-old birthday.
don't you find that fascinating that it was 2 days to make sure she was going to live, and then I was 2 days refusing
Two
to come
days. Yeah. It's ancestral, definitely.
out. Mhm.
Pisces in your fourth house. The feet, so the delay is more Saturnian. That is so interesting. But Saturn is, so I'm using whole house to look at your chart right now. If it was Placidus, Saturn would be in your fourth house.
Mhm.
So we delay things over here.
So what would be different? Obviously, the moon gate is different um, for me, and so is Mercury.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything else is the same. It's just a different line.
Wow. There are no mistakes or coincidences. Everything is on purpose.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That is really interesting. Mm.
All right, my dear. This has been
Okay. Well, I
very
think this was fascinating.
is.
Like, I love learning new stuff, but seeing, the way that you've used both, yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I
I'm going to
think,
put my human design chart through it now
mm, and I
because I,
think,
I only know a few bits. I don't know enough. I know that what am I again? I'm an
generative.
emotional authority manifesting generator.
Mm.
Common
So
as muck, me and Kim K.
yeah, which is really interesting because I was going to ask you that earlier if you had a defined emotional center. So obviously
Yeah,
you do, which all of us that have open emotional centers, kind of what we were talking about, we are going to
follow.
amplify your emotions.
And I don't want you to. Thank you. I'd
stay
rather
out of
I'd rather
stay
you
out of
didn't.
my emotional center. Stick to
But
your.
I do think that what I do notice is I'm a little bit obsessed with emotions as far as things like EQ, emotional intelligence. Like it's something that I continually study. But everyone that does my soul therapy coaching, they get the emotion wheel. Like I've done a ton of research on emotions, how they work, like energy in motion. And I don't want to say I shove it down people's throats, but I think it's important that people understand that we're emotional beings. This is one of the things that separates us from other mammals, right?
Right.
Like your emotions are a superpower. Learn them, understand them, develop emotional vocabulary. It's a game changer. So I'm obsessed from that perspective. But
That's
do I
because you're
want to
defined.
deal?
Because you're
Sorry?
defined. Because you're defined. You've
Yeah,
done the work around that. Those
yeah,
of us that are undefined,
yeah,
it's different, right? Because there's
right,
no consistency for us to grab onto with it.
right.
Where you have that, so it makes sense that you would be like, do the work, right?
Yeah. Well, Cat Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And let me show you how you understand your emotions. Like, and I don't want to. I'm not. I'm not picking up other people's emotions as far as carrying them. See, like an empath, they feel everybody's everything. I'm very good at be like, no, you keep that over there. But I do get pretty impatient with people who are overly emotional. And I'll be like, when are you going to learn that this is all emotion driven? Thoughts in my head that shouldn't really come out of my mouth. But yeah, so I'm acutely tuned in to emotion. Yeah. I read people's emotions exceptionally well. Even if I do say so myself. But you know what I mean? Like I do get into like, oh, okay. Right, I know what's going on here. I'm not going to wait for you to identify and share. I'm going to read them and go, okay, where's this coming from? Yeah, so that is the kind of MG that I am, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to put my chart through now. I want some clarity. Yeah, see what's missing. What do I need to know? Then I can start having some more HD combos.
There you
How
go.
exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like the app is fabulous, especially if you're, you don't want to become a practitioner. You just want to know
Yeah.
how it works for you and how you can like best be the highest expression available. That
Mm-hmm.
app is, I think, priceless for that.
Thank you.
For the for us lay people.
Yeah. I think it's important that we make these tools accessible to everyone. I know that people are impatient. No one wants to study the way they used to, but everyone deserves to have the guidance, right? The knowledge and understanding,
Well,
especially of themselves.
that's the thing, right? If you follow the gene keys, I mean, Rudd says it's a 7-year experimentation. Like, I don't have 7 years to wait
What is
till
a 7-year experimentation? Learning the gene keys.
and how it works for you. I'm like, I really don't have 7 years. I'm old. Like, things are
The
gonna
thing
happen.
is, in 7 years, so much of our lives change. Like, we're a whole new physical person for a start. Uranus has changed sign in that time. Like, it's like, hello, how do I cope with the 7 years that I'm learning?
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
yeah, and how do I build a business in the meantime?
right? What do I have to do? Not get a job? Absolutely not. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm definitely going to run my human design chart through and see what I find out.
I
It's going to
can't.
be like, do you not know yourself, Sherile? I do, but I want to know my human design self now and get a bit more clarity. But yeah, I'm just really happy that it's useful, you know? That's all I can ask is that it's useful and it helps. So, yeah.
Oh,
So if anybody's looking for the app, you cannot get it on the App Store. Do not Google the purpose code, but you can Google the purpose code.app and it will take you to the website and there'll be links there to download it. Or message me and I'll send you a link.
follow you on Substack, and it's there.
Yeah, follow me on Substack or Facebook. There's not a lot going on with me anywhere else, to be fair. Oh, yeah, I'm on YouTube. Been on YouTube for a while. If you're into watching replays of Substack lives, they're on YouTube. Might as well stay on Substack.
That's all I have too. All my lives just go over there. And
Yeah, like
YouTube
I
does the
stopped
work
creating new YouTube
for
content
me.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the Substack now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I hang out. Alrighty.
It's late there.
Well, I
So,
hope you have a fantastic full moon in Capricorn.
oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, and Jupiter will be going into Leo. Mercury will be retrograding all this amazing week. So have a good one, people.
All right.
Hold on to your hats. That's all I've got to say.
All
We
right.
love it. We love astrology. All right. Well, you take care.
You too. See ya.
Bye.